Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's good, everybody? Your boy Microphone back again with another NFL news video. And this news is actually very crazy because this has to do with Antonio Brown, one of the biggest enigmas in the entire NFL, and I think we found a destination for him to sign with. Now, before I deliver this pretty awesome news to you guys, real quickly, guys, I'm going to be live streaming on Twitch directly after this video. We are actually going to try to set up a Madden 20 career sim. And if it's successful, you may start seeing career simulations either on this channel or on my channel Flight Plays. Let me know in the comment section which one you prefer, but I'm going to leave a link to my Twitch in the description down below. It's twitch.tv/FlightMike, and you can find the rest of my socials there as well. So we all know this bizarre story of Antonio Brown. We know that he got traded from the Pittsburgh Steelers to the Oakland Raiders last year after saying that he does not want to play with Ben Roethlisberger anymore. And at the time, I'm not gonna lie, I actually saw his side of the story. Ben Roethlisberger does come off as a little pompous and self-righteous at times, and I guess that just didn't work out with Antonio Brown's philosophy of, him needing the ball in his hands more than he was getting. And it was kind of weird. There's this SB Nation video on it where the gist of the beef was the fact that Ben Roethlisberger wanted to show Antonio Brown who's boss, and Antonio Brown just demanded the ball a little bit more. He just wanted more attention because he was the best wide receiver in the league. Now, some people believe that Antonio Brown suffered some CTE, and that's the reason why he's been acting up so much recently, but the Pittsburgh Steelers had enough, traded him to the Oakland Raiders, and in the Oakland Raiders, there was more of the same. A lot of people point out the fact that he had frostbitten feet during training camp, and they thought that was part of his antics. I never really held that against him so much. The thing I did hold against him, however, was how big of a deal he made out of his helmet situation. He had this whole thing where he demanded to wear a specific type of band helmet, and as soon as they said that he could not, he threatened to retire. Then he got this Zenith partnership for about like a week or two before Zenith ultimately revoked their partnership with him. What I'm trying to get to is it's been a very strange year for Antonio Brown. Now, about a couple of weeks ago, I dropped a video on you guys because you know what happens next. Antonio Brown goes to the Raiders. The Raiders have enough of his shenanigans. He starts video recording him having phone calls with John Gruden. John Gruden decides to release him, and he signs with the New England Patriots for about a week. I think it was a week. I don't think it was two. And after a while, the Patriots released him because he's currently undergoing some sort of sexual assault situation that I really don't want to dive into. I just hopefully what they're saying about him isn't true, and hopefully that all gets cleared up. Now, I dropped a video on you guys a couple of weeks ago, and it was a very interesting one. It was a video of Antonio Brown working out with Lamar Jackson. Now, bear in mind, Antonio Brown works out with a lot of people. If you're a young up-and-coming wide receiver, there's no person that you'd like to work out with more than Antonio Brown. You're going to block out the noise and what the media is saying about the guy because he is an absolute legend. And without a doubt, despite what they say about him off the field, he is still one of the best wide receivers, if not the best wide receiver on the field. Obviously, we don't know how good he is now. He's been out of football I guess you could say he's been out of football for a year, although he did play a week last year, but you get what I'm saying. Now, in this video, we saw Lamar Jackson work out with Antonio Brown and Hollywood Brown. And for those of you guys that don't know, Marquise Hollywood Brown is Antonio Brown's cousin. So they worked out a little bit, and there was some rumblings about Antonio Brown joining the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at that time. And then Bruce Arians came out and he said there's no way he'd ever want to work with Antonio Brown again. This has to do with the fact that Bruce Arians was the offensive coordinator during Antonio Brown's earlier years in Pittsburgh. I guess Antonio Brown rubbed him the wrong way somehow, like Antonio Brown does for a lot of coaches. But I believe this team, the Baltimore Ravens, are probably the best fit for him. And it was a little bit dead over the past week or two. Obviously, the NFL draft came and the Baltimore Ravens spent a third-round pick on Devin Duvernay from Texas and James Proche in the 6th round out of SMU. And honestly, any wide receiver that you could take in this draft is kind of like entering the lottery. This is an NFL draft that's completely loaded with wide receiver talent, and now we can see which ones are hits and which ones are misses. So that kind of gives you an idea that despite having wide receivers like Hollywood Brown, Mark Andrews, and Willie Snead, or Snead, I don't know how you guys like to say his name, I say Snead, but despite having those wide receivers on the roster, and I know Mark Andrews is technically a tight end, but he is a receiving threat in that offense, the Ravens pretty much explained to us that they definitely need more help in that wide receiver room. Now, there's an issue with this, and that's the fact that Antonio Brown is a diva. And we're not discounting that. Of course, anywhere Antonio Brown goes, he's going to be doing some stuff that's going to make you scratch your head. If you watch the Last Dance documentary, you've seen how how Phil Jackson had to handle the personality of Dennis Rodman. And pretty much what any team is getting if they sign Antonio Brown is the football equivalent of Dennis Rodman, in the sense that he's going to do some absolutely nonsense stuff that you are going to have to be able to tolerate and make sure that is under control. And I believe that's why the Baltimore Ravens might be the best spot for him, because they have his cousin, Marquise Hollywood Brown. But guess what? The general manager of the Baltimore Ravens finally gave us a little bit of a soundbite as to whether or not they would look into signing Antonio Brown. According to Eric DeCosta, which is the new general manager for the Baltimore Ravens after Ozzie Newsome stepped down, he came out and he said, "We're always assessing the players out there on the streets. We're looking at guys, we're making decisions that we think are best for the clubs. If we think there's a guy out there who fits us, who's got the skill set to provide value, we'll certainly pounce on that kind of guy. As Ozzie always used to tell me, we don't play games until September, so we've got a lot of time to build the best team we can build, and we'll continue to do that. I look at this time period right here after the draft as a great opportunity to get better as a football team, and we will look to do that." Now, here's the thing that I'm thinking if the Ravens sign Antonio Brown. First things first, you have his cousin on the team. So if there's anyone that will be able to calm down Antonio Brown, it's probably Marquise Hollywood Brown. If there's anybody that would be able to cool him off, it would be his own cousin that he appears to have a good relationship with, because he is still working out with him. But you have to look at the risk versus reward factor. If you ask me, a lot of defensive coordinators are going to come into this season thinking that they have Lamar Jackson figured out. They have the whole offseason to study Greg Roman's offense, and you do need to add a wild card into the mix in order to continue where you left off last season. Now, again, this is my own speculation. For all you know, Lamar Jackson could come out here again without Antonio Brown and completely carve up defenses, and then we'll all do a reaction to this video and call me a blithering fool for making such a statement. But this is my hunch. I feel like if the Ravens go out and they sign Antonio Brown, and you combine Antonio Brown, Lamar Jackson, that offense is absolutely incredible as well. They drafted Patrick Queen and J.K. Dobbins in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft. They had a fairly good draft in my opinion, but they did go heavy on offense in the later rounds. They did go heavy on the offensive line. So this is a team that I believe could get significantly more potent on the offensive side of the ball. I believe Antonio Brown in a system that Greg Roman creates, combined with the fact that he is going to be winged by his cousin Hollywood Brown, could result in some phenomenal things for not only fantasy football owners of Antonio Brown, but in terms of entertainment value for the casual fan. I do hope this does happen. I did speculate earlier that I think that Antonio Brown could go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers before Bruce Arians said what he said. And after that, I felt like the Dallas Cowboys may potentially be interested in Antonio Brown, but they went ahead and drafted CeeDee Lamb in the first round of the NFL draft. So at the end of the day, if you ask me, I think this is a very likely scenario to happen. It really depends on how much Antonio Brown is feeling himself and how much Antonio Brown believes he is worth. If he comes out and he starts demanding the max from whatever team that wants to give him a chance, then chances are that this is not going to happen. But if he comes out and decides, hey, look, I know where I am, I just want to play football again, very similar and reminiscent of the way he is apologizing to John Gruden, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and all the teams that he has had any relationship with earlier this offseason, then I believe that some team will give him a chance, and that most likely team will probably be the Baltimore Ravens. Now, if there's a team that you believe is even more likely to sign Antonio Brown, let me know in the comment section down below. I can't really make sense out of any other team potentially signing him. I believe the Ravens are the best spot for him, but I am always open to hearing your guys' analysis, and I would love to hear your guys' analysis. Guys, make sure you are followed on Twitch because we're going to be doing a career simulation of, I think, Joe Burrow tonight, but it's up to you guys. Whoever gets into the stream first could change that. I'm going to leave a link to it in the description down below. I'm your boy Mikerophone, and I'll catch you guys on our next upload.